Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Barry Kostrinsky. These are Artist Talks. Discourse on Art, DOA, maybe. Maybe that's a new acronym for them. But the idea is we get together, we talk. I'll have presenters from time to time. Tonight's one of those nights where it will be sort of an open roundtable. Anyone is free to bring up any topic or discuss anything, any exhibitions they have coming, any thoughts on their mind, even if it's interesting Instagram snippets that they want to share. Maux Kelly Nolan is on a few screens for us to draw our model. And again, that idea is that can you actually focus on drawing intensely and at the same time listen intensely? And it's sort of an open question. And on the other hand, maybe it is as much as you're focusing on your artwork and then you're listening better, but not necessarily responding. And how do you balance the two, or do you? So sort of a fun experiment. Nice to see so many regulars. And I'll start, I'll sort of say, Olga Alexander, it's nice to see you. And just, you were gonna share about a show, something you have coming up. So welcome everybody, and thanks for coming. If you'd like to contribute to Maux, you can reach out to me or through Maux, and all the conversations are taped and you can see it through my website on the YouTube channel. Welcome.
Hi, nice to see you and everyone, Wendy. Yeah, I have a show coming up at Delaware Contemporary, part of a group show. My piece is called Feminine Transcriptions '02. And I was hoping to deliver it myself, and then logistics as usual got in the way. So I'm going to have to ship it, and hopefully it'll get there on time. But it'll be there the whole summer, apparently. And there's a reception on June 9th. And I hope to be there for that. So if everyone can come, that would be great. You know, that's Delaware Contemporary Museum in Wilmington, Delaware.
And where are you, Olga? Where are you?
I'm in the Bronx now, and I was hoping to go to Delaware. I've never been there, and I wanted to meet the curators. I think they have a call for proposals now until the 30th, but I wanted to see the space, and I didn't get a response. I guess they're inundated, very busy. So I thought, well, you know, I'll wait, whatever.
Shipping is outrageously expensive, isn't it? I mean, I don't know how big your piece is.
Yeah, the piece is like, I think it's framed, which is cumbersome to transport. And it is expensive. It's about 40 by 30 inches. But I was gonna take a chance on the rail and take it myself, but then when I saw the prices and you know it went up daily, I thought, well, this is becoming more complicated than I wanted. So hopefully I can make it for the reception and make a day out of it.
Try shipping one to Europe that has to be crated.
No, you know what? It has really hampered my ability to show. I have a lot of work. I mean, the pandemic has been really very good to me in terms of being productive. So I have a lot of work, but that's always on my mind because I can't ship things like that. I mean, it's just too expensive. I'm not going to put together a crate. I'm not going to go through the logistics of that. So I have to do local, but then it turned out even Delaware, which I thought was local, you know, fairly local, is expensive. Everything is expensive these days.
There's a place I used in New York, Craters and Freighters. I think they're in New York. They might be north of there. Anyway, crazy expensive.
Yeah. So I don't know, I'm working small, but nothing seems to help, you know, because when I work small, I figured, okay, then I have multiple pieces. So I have the same problem, you know, whether you have multiple pieces or one big piece. So anyway.
I have a friend that used a moving company and it was more economical. Yeah. There were many pieces. There were maybe 10, 15 pieces she had framed. Some big.
Mhm.
It was a moving company. It was out east. She had in a gallery out east, and she lives in Florida. Well, it was shipped to a gallery in South Carolina.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Mhm.
But it was more economical than UPS or something.
Yeah, it's an issue, and I'm become very, very picky and limit myself. So again, I don't know what the answer is. I do want to show my work. I don't want to store it, but I can't afford to just ship it wherever.
Same.
Yeah, it's a real. I mean, I completely feel that working three-dimensionally, and my pieces are heavy, and there's just no way. So.
Yeah.
I'm
In
sticking with the mid-Atlantic region right now.
In the old days, the story was it should be able to fit inside a suitcase.
Right.
That was sort of the size of art.
Mm.
Inside a suitcase.
When did you come out and we can show in my yard and document it? A lot of people are doing. One of the guests that you had, Barry, the one that I had suggested, Yvonne, is essentially doing that.
Olga, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Amongst groups to say, you go ahead and you sort of you take the reins and you make the definition of what a gallery is, an exhibition is, and the space associated with it. And you choose your backyard. That's a green space that works for sculpture. You want to choose a room in your house, in your basement, that you paint white. You have some reception, whatever you decide. That's a formula Blanca does in the South Bronx, and
or your apartment.
What's that?
Or do it in your apartment.
That's right. I mean, and if you want to get localized in your apartment, you have a coffee table. That's it. It's small works that people have to give, and that's your coffee table. You can get very interesting, different, but that is the way to go. And then, as friends, you rotate your place, and you never know what happens. You never know.
I'm all for that. I think it's a great idea.
There's a guy on Facebook, Sergio, what is his name? And he does this, like how to market your shit online and all the most economical ways of getting your art out and stuff, like Sergio Gomez. Sergio, yeah. I almost said Sergio Leone, but that's a whole other. Sergio Gomez, that's his name. Like free, how to get your shit online, and a lot of different things.
Yeah, he's on Facebook, and I think what he does or promotes is doing a lot of prints. So you have work on different sizes, and then you have prints. To get that kind of inventory, that's a problem in itself. But not everything can be reduced to a print, or unless you have a hefty clientele list, a long list.
Yeah, I do want to say something. Harry Belafonte passed away this morning. I spent time with him in New York. I dated his daughter Gina for some time. And he bought a painting of mine. And anyway, just want to make note of that. Harry passed away today. 96.
Oh,
yeah.
Crazy, right? Wow. Anyway.
Sorry for your loss, David.
Oh, hey, it's a big loss for everybody. So, yeah, there's a man with serious presence when he walked into the room. Like same kind of presence Muhammad Ali would have walking into a room. Everybody just, some kind of energy that guy had. Crazy. Anyway.
Muhammad Ali doesn't go anywhere without 16 bodyguards.
Right.
Otherwise,
Emily, you were going to. Emily is in her studio in Yonkers. Tell us about what's coming up in May at Yoho in Yonkers.
Well, we're having an open studio May 20 and 21, and it's kind of a big thing here because, you know, there's a lot of studios in Brooklyn and Long Island City, but this is sort of like a big thing. There's not so many studios around here, so we get a lot. And we kind of partner with the Hudson River Museum and the downtown Yonkers. There's a lot of galleries there, and there's a bus that goes around. So it's really kind of it's a big thing. And the last few years we have, you know, we didn't do it for like 2 years. And then last year was kind of, you know, sparse because people were still nervous. So hopefully, you know, I mean, it's really crowded, and we have like food trucks and musicians and all kinds of things. So,
Emily, about how many studios, artists would you say are there in the
about
building?
60, I think there'll be about 60 artists. Yeah. And all different kinds of things. So come, you know, it's the 20th, the 21st, that's Saturday and Sunday in May.
And where is it again?
It's in Yonkers. I don't know if you know Yonkers. It's called Nepperhan Avenue. And there'll be a bus. If you get off downtown Yonkers of a train, there'll be like a bus that goes around to all the things, and you can jump on and off. But I think that's only going to be on Saturday. They're going to have the bus this year. But there's a lot of, you know, you can park here. It's the suburbs. People drive, actually. So, so it's, you know, so Saturday would be the day but there, you could take a taxi from the train station for very little anyway. So
That's true. That's the way to go.
yeah.
Barry's drawing.
Pardon?
Barry is drawing. You can tell when it's silent.
Ah.
I sometimes draw when I talk. That's, I guess, part of the trick.
Involved.
I was drawing with my granddaughter. We had these real little, I have some of them here, these real little sketchbooks. They're like, I don't know, like 3 inches, like
So
2 inches. It's about her scale. She's 5 years old. And so we sit down, I pull out her art supplies, and we start drawing each on our own little book. She looks at mine. She goes, let's switch. So I give her mine, and then I take hers, and I start drawing, and then doing. She goes, how do you do that? And I go, I'm an artist. And she goes, I can be an artist. It's like she realized, because I was drawing like this to get straight lines, and when you're done, you know, you see all these lines evenly spaced. And for a little kid, just to draw one line straight, let alone 8 of them in a little area that are all, you know, a lot of drawing is how you move your hand. You know, that's at least how I see it. And it works for me. And, you know, how like loose or firm or full arm or all different things. And so it does look like magic, because you can sort of flip things off. It was a lot of fun to do that with her.
Mm. A lot of art now doesn't have anything to do with drawing, paint or anything. It's, you know, so
Kind of impersonal.
well.
But then you have Cecily Brown at the Met, right? And so that's a painter's painter. So you do have some doing it, but you're right. In general, so much of this stuff has nothing to do with you know, classical like drawing or painting skills, or, you know, expressing in the medium like that. And it's techno play in different fashion. But a lot of different things. There's like so many different feelings, movements, things that people get into. You know, it's hard to solidify. I do see a movement that's growing. It's sort of a surrealism, a sort of odd mix of outsider and surrealism, where these artists do these repetitive forms. Wallace comes to mind. There are a few of them. The press is coming out as well about it. One artist went from selling at $1,000 to selling at $250,000. So, I forget the name, but but that's one micro trend of so many. I think in the art world, with it's rich. That makes it rich. Think of it like an ocean. I hate to say it. So many different fish in a way, so many different types of life, and I think art is like that. Whereas during the Impressionist time, even though they were out of sync, their group was all doing the same thing. Look at us all here. We're all doing different work. We really all are. I mean, there are commonalities. I'm sure you can pull them out. But think of
kind of like a creative ether that floats around the world. Somebody on the other side of Earth could be doing really similar shit to other people on this side of the Earth. I don't know. Commonality with artists. Same sort of thing. Creative ether.
Yeah. The collective unconscious.
There you go.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's good, but for myself, I am a drawer, and that's what I respond to.
Yeah.
But I like everything.
Sure, you appreciate everything.
A tough question, Emily. What do you loathe? What do you loathe?
Well, I never, I never really liked real conceptual art, which was only about the idea, and you'd go into a gallery and there'd be typed pages on the walls. I can't, that was a movement.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, I don't like that either. Write a book. I don't have to see it in the gallery.
I kind of like the old, like earth art.
So I have a question, you guys, and I don't know if I read this somewhere or I kind of came up with this on my own. Is there a thing about the triangle? You see below Maux's knee, that little triangle, and that there are triangles, and they can guide you. Is that me, or is that a thing, like the triangles in like this? What we're doing, drawing Maux.
Yeah, any simple, angular lineup. So yes, a triangle. Reading the negative space, reading the angle. The old, seeing which way it's sort of tilting to capture it. Definitely, there were some clues.
Yeah, if my line isn't confident, then I see, oh, there's a fucking triangle. So I'll put that in, and then it enables my line, Anyway, I don't know. I wasn't sure if I read that somewhere or.
Yeah.
My own idea.
I see, drawing in some ways as being, shape. Maybe sort of a traditional thing. There's only a few shapes in the world: a circle, a square, a triangle, and everything is a part of that. Every, drawing, or if you draw the figure, that's what it is. Series of triangles.
Shapes, moving shapes and color around in a defined space. That's what I've been doing, because I'm not in a place where I can paint. So I take cutouts and put them up on this space and move them around. Anyway.
Can you show it? Can you show what you're doing, or you can't do that?
I guess. I just take shit and what I'll show you is canvas. And I guess some people call it the under painting or something like that. Anyway, I just made this basically a color field, and then on the back of the canvas, I have magnets, strong magnets, and I put them on the shape on the field. And I mean, it's all very simple and shit. It's just me not being able to paint, you know, so I'm moving. So I don't know how I can turn this around, can I? I don't know. So right now, I don't know how to do this. It's tough to see. I don't know. It's not all that interesting right now, but it enables me just to put, you know, I thought, oh, this is kind of like Matisse with the paper cutouts, you know, he cuts this stuff out and moves it around and to where he likes it. And I know the light was bad there. It's nothing really. But so, you know, that's what I'm reduced to right now. It's like, okay, that's actually painting, you know, you're putting shapes and colors in a defined space. So totally simplifying the whole fucking thing.
You know, you're right, Emily. That's, you know, the classical way, and, you know, even goes back to Platonic solids, but basically the circle, like you say, or the sphere and the square and variations. But I say when I paint, it reduces even further. So it's either the circle, so any curve, any swirly arm, an ellipse, a circle, or a straight line. And so painting can be a combination. Now, I would say the third is when I use my brush stroke to do, it's not something in between the two, but it's sort of like, it's hard to define, but it sort of moves, and it's neither a defined curve nor a line, but more of a pasting and patching. And movement usually across the canvas, down, up, so I'm hitting at different points. So it then gets a connectedness in color and composition because there's a rhythm of it. But my point is, yes, straight line curve. And so in a sense, a lot of modern art, you can break it down when it wants to simplify, you know, it goes to that.
Yeah, I love straight lines, and then, you know, a curve in there. I love schematics, like electronic schematics. You'll see, you know, it's all straight lines. But I love that sort of thing. And the way you place them on the space, it guides the eye. You know, I like putting things where your eye, whatever's on that canvas or on that wall, your eye travels across the space. I like to do that sort of thing. Hard to explain, I guess, unless you're looking at it.
Now, Emily, you're also part of a group that draws in New York City, right? That goes to different spots.
Oh, yes, right. The Urban Sketchers. Yeah. There's one in Westchester now and one in New Jersey, but I really like them. I mean, they're twice a week, and there's always places that, you know, you might even be familiar with, but I don't know. I always come up with things that are unusual, even though it's like a usual place. Like we're going to go to Rockefeller Center tomorrow. You know, who knows what you're going to get out of that. But we also go to places that are odd, you know, that I have never been to. Well, they're not odd, but I've never been to. But I really like that it's very non-competitive. You know, it's like, it's very, you know, like at the end, they have what they call a throwdown, and everybody shows their work. And the only thing you're not allowed to do is criticize anybody's work or your own.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets up and says, well, I didn't do this right. And yeah, this is, you know, so you can't do that.
A throwdown?
It's called a throwdown. Well, it's like, I don't know.
Championship wrestling.
Yeah. No, it's such an unusual organization. You know, it's like no fees. I mean, all different age levels, all different. Some people are really, really, you know, fabulous sketchers. Some people there's like students from FIT that go or just learning how to, you know, do stuff. And yeah, I like that a lot.
And so now they have chapters outside of New York. I guess it's all on their website. I'll take a look. That's of interest to me then. I'd always wanted to draw with them.
Yeah, it's really quite wonderful.
Does anybody have anything they'd like to share, whether a show or something they're working on, or even any thoughts on exhibits they may have seen?
Well, I saw a Georgia O'Keeffe show at the MoMA, which I've seen so much of her work in my life that it's sort of like, oh, well, and I went, there's a watercolors, they were so wonderful. They were so courageous that she did that. I mean, nobody did that. I mean, now we look at it, okay, and extremely imaginative. If you haven't gone to it, I would urge you to go.
Yeah, I think we all like Georgia O'Keeffe at a certain age, whether it was 18, 19, or 20, or 17. And then we're like supposed to not like Georgia O'Keeffe at a certain age. But whenever you see her show, and I saw her show in Brooklyn, she always impresses. The work always moves. She's a painter's painter. I once heard a story. I can't believe it's true, but the story was that when she would start a painting, she would at times start in the top left and then just work all the way down to the bottom right. And that was the painting. She had that kind of whole vision. I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm sort of impressed that she did that. But her work has her volume, her form, the leaf form, the vaginal form, the mountain form. It's got it all. It really does. And it's simple in a good way. And I think that's why people look to criticize her work. And of course, her pairing with Stieglitz doesn't go to her favor because he's such a big name. So she's sort of dwarfed by the relationship, just as Lee Krasner was dwarfed by Pollock.
Hey, I just thought a couple of weeks ago, I went to this little country auction and I bought a box of art. And I want to show you this one piece and ask you what you think of it. Do you mind?
Not at all. And that's right before David Gregory pulled a Rembrandt out of the box.
Literally. No, they were covered in dust, but I thought this was like a kind of incredible, primitive. There's a black cat and a white cat.
It's called as colors, but it's
the full moon. There's a tree in the foreground, and then the mountain, the hill drops off. I don't know, it's the glass. And I thought it looked like a something.
Is it signed?
Huh?
Is it signed on it? Did the artist sign it?
But it's not new. I mean, this is
right. No, I know. Yeah.
Take it out. You got to take the back off.
Yeah.
Look for an A and a C.
Look, I'm getting a glare from the window.
Right. But do you think a child or an adult did it?
Well, I think an adult, because I don't know if a child would drop off the edge of the red, like that, like they had to climb up there. It's a full moon. It's I don't know, kind of a black and a white cat, kind of I don't know, man, a racial thing, or I don't know. It's trying to make it. And I don't know what kind of, I guess it's oil.
Wow.
But to get the layers, like the tree in the front, and then the red, and then the cats, and then the sky, and then the moon. You know what I mean? It looks childlike, primitive. But I don't really think, anyway, I thought it was fucking great in a way.
I love children's art.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And I don't know, it should be interesting. Uh,
I don't
Yeah.
think so.
do the opening. Who was that guy who opened the chest on TV 20 years ago for nothing was inside the chest? But remember that? Well, do it. I'm saying 20% chance it's Calder. Otherwise, it's a
What other goodies were in the box, David?
Oh, okay. Like, I don't know. It was a hodgepodge. There were penguins. Here, I'll show you. There was a family of they're not taxidermy, but they're life size.
Oh, cool.
Not really. Yeah.
Penguin.
My God, how big was your box?
Wow.
That's so cool.
And they're styrofoam, and they have like, they're like very realistic. And so I had to fucking get those. And, no, really. Well, I like penguins. What else is in that box? There's someone. Oh yeah, I don't know this nautical thing. It's like a watercolor of a Spanish ship or something. I don't know, but they've just totally covered in dust.
Huh.
Trying to keep the glare away. I don't know. It might be some kind of Teresa thing. But again, been around a while. They're leaning. Yeah. Yeah, I love that finding stuff, but I love that cat, the cat, black and white cat thing. What else was it? Oh, it's another knot.
A buddy of mine from college was on my dorm floor, and I actually bought antiques from him. He was, I guess, a year or two older, but seemed much older in a way. He was like an antiques dealer already when he was in college.
The nautical thing.
Uh-huh.
The heavy duty frame, like heavy Spanish, I don't know.
Really like that thing.
So
yeah.
eventually, after about 20 years, I checked in on my friend. His name was David as well. It was David Killen. And it turns out he went into antiques and arts in a big way. Not quite an auction house, but one step below. And the story with David is, he had that happen where he like bought a lot of art, and it turned out it was some famous works, famous artists. I even forget the name. And, it was a big process to go through, but like the $1 Million Find.
This is like an etching. And I don't know if it's the London Bridge or Tower or something. It looks black and white, but it's very kind of sepia. I have a found art story. When I was living in Nyack, driving home, I was like the master of dumpster diving and gleaning off the streets. And I was driving to my little shop, Barry, you were there, by a little gas station, and the dumpster's out. And it was starting to snow, and I could see the there's a triangle again. The canvas is sticking up out of the dumpster, right? And so, right in there, and I pulled them out and looked at them, and I wish I could show you the pictures of them. So I went inside. Is it okay if I take these two paintings in the dumpster? And he's like, yeah, I got more. And he had 3 or 4 more up in the storage space of the gas station, like a loft, wooden loft thing. You just throw shit up there. The 5 paintings, didn't know anything about them, but every one of them, 3 of them were on masonite and 2 of them on canvas. And the canvas ones had been slashed, like both of them. And the masonite ones had been punched through, like punched holes through them. And they were wonderful portraits, is what they were. And I went to my shop and I Googled this guy, Henry Varnum Poor. And he's kind of well-known guy in that region of New York, right? And so well-known, he was a potter as well. Do you guys want me to keep going?
Yeah.
So I knew a woman lived in Nyack who had been on the Antique Roadshow, right? She used to be one of those people. So I called her and I said, come and look at this stuff. I don't know, it's pretty good. I don't know, I just Googled the guy. And so 20 minutes after I called her, she's there. She gets on a phone and calls a guy. And he said, it will cost me $1,000 for each painting to repair them.
Whoa.
So I can't pay full price, but I will give you $1,500 for each one. And I wish I could pull some of these up. And he bought all 5 of them. He had a shop, a gallery over in Tarrytown across the river. He bought all 5 of them. I was in my store 45 minutes and sold these things, brought them in. It's crazy. Henry Varnum Poor. Yeah, he was a potter too. He published books on pottery. His wife was a potter. I visited his wife after this. She still lived there, and the entire house was like broken tile sinks. I don't know what that is, and walls and entranceways, broken, like dishes and stuff like that. And they had a workshop there.
But David, what was the connection with the gas station and the dumpster? Was that?
It was on the way to my shop. It's like 3 blocks.
Yeah, but why did he have the paintings? Was that the artist?
Yeah, no. There was a woman that used to work. There was a woman that used to work for him at the gas station, like, female mechanic, right? And she found these paintings out where, this is where I was going, the county or the state appreciated his work so much, they built a building for Henry Varnum Poor Museum. And it was a standalone building, and it was just his work, pottery and paintings. And after a few years, the state said, you know what? We're gonna close it. We're gonna close the Henry Varnum Poor Museum. And so when he got that news, he went to the museum in the middle of the night and broke in and destroyed all of his work that was in the museum. And that's the slashes and the punches, and I mean, no pottery could be saved. But that's she told me that's where these came from. But
wow.
Crazy.
But why did he take it out on his own work?
Well, I've destroyed my own work before.
Yeah, but he thought it was good enough to be in a museum one day, and then just because the museum is closing or whatever, he destroys the work. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, you can't have it or whatever. I don't know, man. I get it. I've taken my things outside and cut them up and set them on fire and stomped on them before. I've done that.
Yeah, definitely relate to that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so anyway, pretty cool. Just like found fucking art in a dumpster, man. Anyway, Henry Varnum Poor. Yeah, he published a book on pottery. He and his wife both did, as I recall.
So let me ask you, David, the next day going to work, were you looking a little harder for 5 more paintings?
I always looked hard. Whenever I was such a gleaner and trash picker. I had a map of which towns in Rockland County had like big pickup night. And there's a lot of there's a lot of wealthy people in Rockland County, and a lot of old houses and old families. And I would, this, Piermont tonight is doing big pickup night. and I would go. And I found, oh my God, a bottle of port from 1968 that was unopened. And I had a Portuguese friend, and I took it to him, and he goes, oh, I'm meeting to the Portuguese ambassador tomorrow in Manhattan. I'll take this with me. And that guy said, this is my father's vineyard. And it's 1 year old.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely. I found a gun before, I put it back. And then I said, oh shit, my fingerprints are on it. I better go back. And
That's great. That's great.
I'm not kidding, man.
You just touch that handle a little.
Yeah, it's like, that was spooky. Oh, fuck, I touched it. So, you know, too much TV or something. There might, yeah. And it was just amazing. Apparently there was some well-to-do costume designer for Broadway. And I guess her family had come to clean out her house and stuff. And there were reams of incredible fabric and books of costume, you know, watercolor sketches and costumes. And I just fucking, I don't know, it's half dark. I have so many, it's amazing. The shit that came to me that way, I totally, well, a woman called me and said they were closing her corporate offices, Volvo, right, in New Jersey. They're closing this huge building, and it's full of art. And they're just asking to a $50 donation to some charity for whatever you want. And I got there late. People took art out of there that was incredibly valuable. But anyway, I only got one, a Scottish artist, Bruce McLean, who I soon became a big fan of, 5 feet by 8 feet, painting on photographic paper. I didn't know what it was, who he was, but I looked behind it and there were these Mary Boone stickers on the back.
Oh my God.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Good. I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but I'm going to rent a van and come back. 5 by 8 feet. I still have it. And Bruce McLean, this Scottish artist, he's well known in Europe, and he's like a Scottish, you know, hero. He does all sorts of things, and just that piece of art, researching him led me to his whole career. And also he was a collaborator with a British architect, Will Alsop, who recently passed away. And Bruce would do all the glass in these buildings, big buildings. He would do all the colored glass and some sculpture and stuff like that outside. Bruce McLean designed a hospital waiting room where when you approach the counter, the light, it was kind of translucent front, and it would slowly warm up as you approached the counter, you know, to tell them, you know, I'm really sick and stuff, to like sort of relax the patient, you know, walking up there. So many things. He did a sculpture in the ocean of a giant plexiglass tube, probably 20 feet long and 5 or 8 feet wide. And he put it in the ocean at a point when the tide went out, it was right at the top of that tube. I don't know, it was just a cool, strange thing to do. But he was a young man and very young to get a show at the Taft in London. And he's a man that mocks the art, the whole art fucking business. Fascinating guy. So he got a show, and he one of his teachers was Henry Moore, the sculptor. Henry Moore. These biomorphic kind of, and he hated that all these sculptures were on plinths. Like, why you gotta put it on this thing? This, you know? And so his first show at the Tap was called Pose for Plinths. And there was just a bunch of plinths in a room, and he would go from, what do they call them? Pedestal to pedestal, and get on top and pose. And it was sort of mocking Moore, one of his teachers. And that evolved into the Pose band, where he advertised and promoted a band, the Pose band, right? At a theater. And then he went in other countries in Europe, same thing. And people came and thought they were going to see music, but they didn't. They just saw people like in tuxedos posing on plinths. And he toured, and they hated him. They threw shit at him. Yeah, I mean, by getting.
Well, David, I got to tell you, the thing is the sort of breadcrumb trail from something you found at a throwaway, and then how it opens up. And, as artists, sometimes that's how we do, when we explore our work. So it may seem like one thing, but the more you jump into it, you learn it's richer, it's deeper, and multifaceted.
Yeah. And so I became a big fan of Will Alsop, the architect. Just an insane buildings. His thing was architecture should be a piece of art you live inside.
Yeah.
And
think of Gaudi. Certainly, he had that feeling, and there are some other obviously many other architects. Often, you do get beautiful buildings that are not beautiful to live in. They have that contradiction. Beautiful.
Yeah, he did some things that were complete financial failures after he completed them. Anyway, I just love his balls, man, and to convince people to build them. He was the first guy to be called a starchitect. A starchitect. And he's done, every continent, I guess, except South America, he's done incredible things. So yeah, buying that fucking painting led me all through this. And then I didn't know much about architecture, but now I do because of this guy and his contemporaries and whatever. Yeah, so go fucking trash picking, man. That's my advice. Get a van. It's, I can't even tell you how many, gosh, wonderful things. Here's another one. You want to hear one more?
Okay, we'll do one more, and then I'll wrap it up. Go ahead, David.
I'm sorry. So in Nyack, Upper Nyack, beautiful big mansions in Upper Nyack. It was a family. Shoot, oh my God, the history. The family lived down the street from Edward Hopper childhood home where he grew up, right? And Edward Hopper's dad was their family doctor. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Anyway, there were 5 daughters and 1 son. Anyway, I would drive by this house and I could see, I had heard like all the girls have died except one, and she has to leave. So there's a dumpster in the driveway on the property. You couldn't, on the street. And I would drive by and I'm like, God, there's gotta be some great shit in there. And one day I was driving by and it was starting to sprinkle. And I'm like, I'm going in because shit will be ruined. And on the very top was this journal from, this is 1936, 1938, World War II stuff. This journal, this 14-year-old girl wrote about everything in such a beautiful way in this journal, and it had watercolors. And so I researched her And her father was like a Schindler's List guy. He was the first president of the New School in Manhattan. And he brought the intelligentsia from Europe to get them out. And Kandinsky was involved with the New School when it first opened. He had paintings in the lobby, day one. And this girl, she had talked to him about this one painting. And oh my God, I don't even know where to go. The Schindler's List thing, he bought property, I don't know, North Carolina or South Carolina or something. He bought farms, little 5 or 10 acre farms and a horse, just like 5 acres and a mule kind of story. And he brought these people over, professors and scientists and philosophers and writers, and got them out quick. And they went down to the little farms. And they're like, fuck this, I'm going to Chicago. They all like bolted and went to Chicago. But he had to change his name to Johnson because of the Jewish thing. Incredible. That little diary was on top of this dumpster. And there were other things in there. They're like this beautiful rabbit cage and all sorts of little things, right? And then I start reading the journal and she talks about the rabbit cage in there. And a story, I used to sit in my shop, Barry, and I would be reading it. I would read to people out of this journal. And people would cry. The rabbit cage story. I ran downstairs to a great hullabaloo, as there was an injured rabbit that the neighbor's cat had injured, and she watched it tremble and die in her hands. It perished from fear alone. God damn, it was loaded. So a guy who owned a gallery, super high-end gallery, French antiques and art and shit, had acquired some of the girls' paintings, which were phenomenal, kind of hoppery. He had bought 8 or 10 of them. They were just fucking gorgeous. So I sold him the journal. I said, this will help you sell these paintings. But I was starving at the time. And and I regret selling that. I could have made a movie. She would talk about, she counted 27 blimps going up the Hudson River, with the it's a war happening, and just a million things. She caught her, and this is in the late 30s. As I recall, 36, maybe 32, I don't know. She caught her brother smoking cigarettes up in the widow's peak, of the house. And she said, I cannot imagine why anyone would do that to themselves. Like she fucking knew it was bad, right? And they would do things, they would find a dead bird, right? And they would place it somewhere and let it decompose except for the bones. And this was a parlor activity where once the bones were cleaned and stuff, they would put the bird back together and then, put a glass dome on it. And that was like a parlor activity. They also had...
and maybe if it wasn't FDR, it was Teddy. I think it was FDR did that. He had a little collection of birds. It was something of the era.
They had a big apartment in Manhattan, Riverside Park. She spoke of sleigh riding down the hill and shopping for, Christmas. Oh God, it was just wonderful. There was a little girl, like 14, 15 years old. They would go to lectures like the combustible engine. They would go to a lecture for that in Manhattan at the time. I don't know. Just fucking fascinating, man.
Well, definitely one of the takeaways, you know, when you put the year on it and you put the pre-story, that you're getting this out of the garbage. And it's very poignant in a way that history is being thrown out, that stories are being thrown out.
Yeah. This is where shit winds up, man. You know, it's going to be on the curb. Eventually, all of our shit's going to be on the curb. But one other thing I want to say shit about that. It escapes me now.
I think the larger point is it's maybe a little worse than that, you know, because it's on the curb and then it's in the garbage. And, you know, there are people who are incredibly famous in 1902. We don't know their names today. So history has, whether it's 30 years of memory or 60 years or 90, and certainly for all of us. I think that's one of the battles, the basic battles of being human.
And I started painting seriously. Yeah, I seriously started painting when I found apparently an entire studio. Easels, rolled up giant canvases, brushes, paint, sculptor's table. I don't know what the whole fucking kit. And I had just bought a house, and so I'm going to make art. I didn't want prints. I don't know why. So I'm going to make art for the house, and that's how because if you want to be a painter and you don't have any money, you can't buy shit to do it. And it was just dropped in my fucking lap like a whole fucking thing. And I did paintings for the house. You know, the paint I got from Pigments in Amsterdam. My wife sent me on a hash tour to Amsterdam, and I went to this windmill where they've made pigments for centuries, grind up minerals and shit, and then bought bags of these pigments. And then I painted my house with those and made some paintings on the walls. And then we were fairly new to Nyack, and people would come over for dinner or whatever. And a couple of people had stores in town, like, put those fucking paintings in my store. Boom, boom. And they sold. And so then a little space opened in Nyack, and that's where we met, Barry, my little space. I said, well, shit, I'm going to open my own deal. And yeah, that's how I seriously started painting, because I had everything. I didn't have to go to the fucking store, you know?
Thanks, David. Thanks. I think I'm going to wrap it up and say thank you to Mo for modeling and for everybody who came. I'll have a presenter on May 16th. Bonnie Leibowitz will present about a show she has opening in Dallas. Before that, if anybody would like to, just reach out to me, or if they have recommendations. And Olga, your recommendation was great. That I've really been thinking about her work. What was her name again? Was Yvonne Short, yes. And you know, that idea that empower yourself. You make your own museum, make your own exhibition space. You curate your own show. You set the boundaries. You decide you're worthy of getting free press or this or that. It's an empowerment play, a smart one, and sort of a game theory play. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thank you, Mo. Nice to see some faces I haven't seen, some chairs I haven't seen in a while. So nice.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you, David, for sharing those incredible stories.
Yes.
It's entertaining.
Oh my God. It's great. There's a closing comment. This is what I was going to say. There's a wonderful film, a French documentary filmmaker. I'll think of her name in a minute. The name of the film is The Gleaners and I. And it's about her going all over France. It was based on a painting called The Gleaners, where the poor people are getting potatoes out of the field. And when people would harvest their grapes or potatoes, they would, what was left behind on the ground, the people that got them were called the gleaners. It's a biblical term. Anyway.
Yes, and thank you, David. I'm going to stop. You can keep going, David. Let me just stop the recording. And